After completing the refinement of the purple apex flames, Han Li immediately received news that the Mullen army was advancing toward them. Han Li immediately headed to the main hall with a serious expression. There, he found Ji Shuangpu, Old Man Ma, the large bald commander, and a pale, hunchbacked cultivator wearing an embroidered robe, along with two newly arrived core formation cultivators. The large bald man introduced the newcomer as Bu Yunhe, the cultivator who had been defending Sky Terrace Valley. Realizing Bu Yunhe had been forced to abandon the valley, Han Li understood the situation was even worse than expected. Han Li politely expressed admiration for Bu Yunhe's successful escape. Bu Yunhe humbly replied that he had only survived thanks to Old Man Ma's assistance and thanked him sincerely. Old Man Ma casually dismissed the matter, saying he had barely acted before the pursuing spell warriors retreated, leaving him disappointed that he had not been able to test his ancient treasure. Bu Yunhe explained that the current Mullen invasion was unlike previous ones. Their spell warriors were much better trained and were supported by enormous ancient ferocious beasts covered in thick armored hides and enhanced with strange restrictions. These beasts could relentlessly charge into defensive formations, eventually destroying even grand formations through brute force. Han Li asked whether several nascent soul cultivators working together could not simply kill such beasts. Bu Yunhe answered that he had managed to wound one with his magic treasure but had immediately been attacked by two high-grade spell warriors, preventing him from finishing it before the beast destroyed Sky Terrace Valley's grand formation. He believed that with reinforcements from Old Man Ma and the others, Lu's defensive formation should fare much better. Ji Shuangpu asked how many sage-level spell warriors the Mullen army possessed, suggesting that if their numbers were small, the 5 nascent soul cultivators could launch a surprise attack and seriously injure or even kill 1 or 2 of them. Bu Yunhe, however, disappointed him by reporting that he had personally seen one of the mysterious transformed spell warriors together with 2 sage-level spell warriors. While suspecting that additional powerful enemies were hidden within the army, the large bald commander concluded that since the enemy was concealing its true strength, they should avoid unnecessary risks and instead lure the Mullen forces into the grand formation. Their primary mission was to delay the invasion rather than seek decisive victory. Although Ji Shuangpu appeared dissatisfied, neither Han Li nor Old Man Ma objected. The commander then instructed Chang Shuji to escort Bu Yunhe to recover in a meditation room, while Yingning and the others arranged accommodations for the surviving Sky Terrace Valley cultivators and incorporated them into the fortress garrison. Han Li silently approved of the commander's careful and organized leadership, recognizing why the 9 Nations Union had entrusted him with defending this strategic location. Soon afterward, deep war drums echoed through the distance like rolling thunder, causing everyone in the hall to become tense. Old Man Ma coldly declared that the Mullen army had arrived, only slightly behind them. The large bald commander asked Han Li, Old Man Ma, and Ji Shuangpu to accompany him outside to test the enemy's strength and identify any particularly dangerous opponents. He also ordered the 2 core formation cultivators who had escaped Sky Terrace Valley to accompany them, as their previous combat experience against the Mullen would help warn them of the enemy's tactics. The 2 cultivators immediately accepted the order. As Han Li looked toward the south, the Mullen army came into view. Countless spell warriors advanced across the horizon in disciplined formations, flying above the green mist below. At the front stood more than a dozen high-grade spell warriors radiating powerful spiritual and treasure auras. 3 figures stood out in particular. A man wrapped in crimson light with a massive malevolent flame serpent coiling around his body. An emaciated man as thin as a bamboo pole who appeared as though a gust of wind could topple him. And a mysterious black-robed figure whose face remained hidden. Black demonic chi poured from the black-robed cultivator's body, accompanied by faint ghostly wails that inspired fear in everyone nearby. Although 2 spell warriors escorted him, he flew alone at the very front of the army, seemingly separate from the rest. The surrounding spell warriors avoided looking directly at him, revealing both fear and reverence, while careful observation also exposed traces of deep resentment hidden beneath their expressions. The 2 high-grade spell warriors standing beside the mysterious black-robed leader quietly discussed how to destroy the grand formation blocking their advance. After finishing their conversation, the tall, shriveled spell warrior known as Sir Heavenweep approached the black-robed figure and asked whether they should begin the attack. He noted that this grand formation appeared much stronger than the one they had previously encountered and that it was likely protected by several nascent soul cultivators, making it a difficult target that would require considerable time to break. The black-robed leader calmly shook his head, explaining that there was no need to attack first because the cultivators had already decided to emerge. He preferred to observe their strength before deciding on the next move. His hoarse, unnatural voice, as though he lacked a tongue, made everyone nearby uneasy. Moments later, the green mist below suddenly split apart, and 7 streaks of light flew into the sky. The group consisted of 5 nascent soul cultivators and 2 core formation cultivators. Under the bald leader's command, no lower-grade cultivators accompanied them except the 2 core formation cultivators from Sky Terrace Valley and Changshuji. After stopping in the air, Han Li carefully surveyed the enormous Mullen army. Although the 10 leading spell warriors were all impressive, his attention immediately focused on the sinister black-robed figure. The moment Han Li looked at him, he instinctively looked away because the man strongly reminded him of the Bone Sage Xiao Cha. Han Li wondered whether this person was also cultivating Ghost Dao techniques. Although the aura differed slightly from the Bone Sage's dense yin and ghostly qi, the similarities were enough to make Han Li extremely vigilant, as he could not clearly identify the difference between the two. The spell warriors quickly reacted to the cultivator's appearance. The spell warrior wrapped with a giant fire python suddenly transformed into an enormous blazing fireball and charged toward them. Han Li and the other cultivators remained completely calm, knowing that no spell warrior would recklessly attack their entire group alone. The fireball stopped roughly 20 meters away, releasing intense heat that even alarmed the nearby cultivators. A figure slowly emerged within the flames and introduced himself in a thunderous voice as Ku Yao, the great sage of the Fire-Right tribe. He declared that since the cultivators had come out to face them, they must intend to test the Mullen army's strength and asked whether the battle would begin as one-on-one duels or a full melee. The bald leader coldly chose single combat, saying heaven would determine who survived. Ku Yao laughed loudly, saying that was exactly what he wanted, and immediately volunteered as the first challenger. The challenge enraged the cultivators, but Old Man Ma reacted most strongly. Filled with murderous intent, he transformed into a streak of white light and flew out to accept Ku Yao's challenge. Although the bald leader briefly hesitated, he ultimately allowed Old Man Ma to fight first. In his opinion, Old Man Ma was the most suitable representative because he still did not know which nascent soul cultivator among them possessed the greatest strength. Naturally, he never considered Han Li, who had only recently advanced to the nascent soul stage. Ku Yao calmly retreated toward the open space between the two armies, while Old Man Ma followed him so both combatants could fight freely without worrying about surprise attacks or holding back because of their allies. Before the battle began, the bald leader questioned the horse-faced cultivator about Ku Yao's abilities. The horse-faced cultivator explained that Ku Yao's fire attribute techniques were extraordinarily powerful, especially the fire python that coiled around his body. The creature was incredibly fast and difficult to defend against, and it had already reduced a core formation guard from Sky Terrace Valley to ashes. The bald leader then turned to Jiyu Shuangpu and asked whether Old Man Ma's Grand Righteousness arts, famous for resisting flames, ghosts, and evil influences, would provide an advantage. Jiyu Shuangpu replied that while the cultivation art could easily withstand ordinary fire techniques, things would be very different if Ku Yao's flames embodied the 3 essences of worldly spirit fire. In that case, even the Grand Righteousness arts might be unable to suppress them completely. Even so, Old Man Ma remained their best candidate because his cultivation method could at least resist the devilish influence contained within the flames, preventing inner demon backlash. Hearing this explanation, the bald leader finally relaxed, believing his decision had been correct. Han Li, however, focused entirely on the fire python, activating his bright sight spirit eyes. Blue light flickered across his pupils, and a strange expression briefly appeared on his face as he noticed something unusual about the creature. At the center of the battlefield, Old Man Ma formed incantation gestures, causing a layer of soft white light to spread across his body. He then opened his mouth and released a walnut-sized silver treasure that expanded into a silver ruler. The ruler trembled, released thousands of rays of silver light, and emitted a clear cry resembling the sacred phoenix of the highest heavens. Throughout this display, Ku Yao remained motionless with folded arms and a mocking smile, showing complete confidence. Angered by his opponent's arrogance, Old Man Ma prepared to launch the first attack. Just before attacking, however, Old Man Ma suddenly received an extremely faint voice transmission. Although the voice was almost impossible to hear, the message was perfectly clear. Surprised, he quickly looked around before realizing Han Li had secretly contacted him. Han Li merely smiled in response. Understanding that Han Li had discovered something important, Old Man Ma abandoned his original attack and instead stared at Ku Yao before declaring that the fire python was not an ordinary spirit beast. Ku Yao paused briefly before sneering that Old Man Ma possessed good judgment. He proudly revealed that the creature was not a spirit beast at all but a worldly fire spirit. As soon as he finished speaking, his body trembled slightly, and the fire python burst with dazzling crimson light. The python shot into the sky, where a horn emerged from its head. Fierce claws grew from its body, and its crimson scales sparkled brilliantly as it transformed into a genuine fire flood dragon that roared while circling above Ku Yao's head. Seeing this transformation, the bald leader immediately cried out in shock, recognizing it as a transformed fire spirit. While Jiyu Shuangpu's expression became extremely grim, Old Man Ma also realized the gravity of the situation. Only an exceptionally powerful nascent soul spell warrior could refine a worldly fire spirit to such a level. Understanding that this battle would be far more dangerous than expected, he immediately abandoned his earlier intention of using only 70% of his strength. Determined to fight with everything he had, Old Man Ma waved his sleeve and summoned another treasure enveloped in brilliant rainbow light. The object hovered above his head before revealing itself as a pale yellow scroll roughly 1 meter long. Curious, both the cultivators and the distant spell warriors carefully watched the treasure. Knowing that any magic treasure capable of radiating rainbow light was certainly extraordinary. Han Li also paid close attention. The scroll slowly unfurled toward Ku Yao, revealing what appeared to be an ordinary 8 trigrams diagram, as Old Man Ma solemnly chanted an incantation and struck the scroll with a spell seal. The diagram suddenly erupted with astonishing spiritual fluctuations. The moment Ku Yao sensed the terrifying power contained within the treasure, he realized it was dangerous and acted immediately. Pointing toward Old Man Ma, he commanded the fire flood dragon overhead to open its mouth and unleash an endless torrent of scarlet flames. Within an instant, the overwhelming sea of fire completely engulfed both Old Man Ma and the 8 trigram scroll. Old Man Ma was completely engulfed by the sea of flames, causing the bald cultivator and the others to become extremely anxious. However, they believed he had revealed the scroll because he possessed a way to counter Ku Yao's attack. Their confidence proved correct. Standing safely within the blazing flames, Old Man Ma formed an incantation gesture as the scroll unfurled before him. Brilliant white light burst forth and a roaring pillar of white wind erupted from the scroll, spreading across an area over 30 meters wide. The violent winds effortlessly swept away nearly all of the surrounding flames. With an angry shout, Old Man Ma then launched a streak of silver light from within the wind pillar, aiming directly at Ku Yao without paying any attention to the enormous fire flood dragon protecting him. His strategy was obvious. If he could injure Ku Yao, the spirit-linked flood dragon would lose much of its power. Ku Yao remained calm and merely curled the corner of his mouth before summoning a translucent flying saber radiating brilliant scarlet light. The saber instantly intercepted the incoming silver streak, and the two attacks collided evenly as red and silver lights intertwined in midair. Seeing that his first defense had succeeded, Ku Yao produced 2 tiny crimson flags and tossed them into the air, where they rapidly expanded into 3-meter-tall banners. After chanting a mysterious incantation, the flags released 2 thick pillars of flame that converged upon the fire flood dragon's horn, creating a massive cloud of blazing fire. Ku Yao then breathed a mouthful of red qi onto the dragon. Greatly invigorated, the flood dragon roared excitedly and charged into the fire cloud, which immediately turned crimson before rapidly shrinking. Using his bright sight spirit eyes, Han Li was astonished to discover that the dragon was actually devouring the fire cloud as nourishment. Within moments, the entire cloud disappeared, and the dragon expanded to over 30 meters long, with a head the size of a small building and a terrifying, savage appearance. By then, Old Man Ma's white wind pillar had completely dispersed the surrounding flames, leaving only himself standing within it. Holding the 8 trigram scroll, he glanced coldly at the gigantic flood dragon before suddenly throwing the scroll high into the sky. Wrapped in rainbow light, the scroll shot upward and disappeared into the heavens. Ku Yao hesitated for only an instant before sensing strange spiritual fluctuations above him. Countless strands of rainbow light then descended, revealing a gigantic 8 trigram formation over 100 meters wide. The enormous diagram descended rapidly from the sky, enveloped in dazzling rainbow light. Realizing the danger, Ku Yao immediately ordered the fire flood dragon to attack. The dragon fired a powerful scarlet beam at the bottom of the formation, causing it to tremble only slightly before it continued descending without slowing. Ku Yao's expression changed drastically as he rubbed his hands together and instantly produced countless fist-sized fireballs through his own cultivation, launching them upward in a dense barrage. Han Li was deeply impressed because he recognized these were not talisman-generated attacks but spirit techniques directly created through Ku Yao's cultivation. He realized that spell warrior techniques greatly surpassed ordinary elemental Taoist techniques in both power and practical combat effectiveness. Nevertheless, despite the fireballs striking the underside of the massive formation like a shower of meteors, they accomplished almost nothing. The huge 8 trigram diagram continued descending at tremendous speed until it completely trapped both Ku Yao and the fire flood dragon. From outside, neither the Heavenly South cultivators nor the spell warriors could see Ku Yao anymore. They could only observe the gigantic 8 trigram formation slowly revolving while thunder continuously echoed from within. Old Man Ma showed no excitement after successfully trapping his opponent. Instead, he immediately sat cross-legged, maintained an incantation gesture, and continuously poured spiritual power into the treasure as soft white light surrounded his body while deafening thunder repeatedly burst from the formation. Watching this scene, the shriveled spell warrior grew worried and asked the black-robed Heavenweep whether Ku Yao would be safe. He even proposed abandoning the agreement of one-on-one combat and organizing a rescue if necessary, admitting that he had never expected a nascent soul cultivator to possess such a strange and powerful ancient treasure. Heavenweep merely laughed calmly and dismissed his concerns. He explained that although the Supreme 8 trigram diagram was indeed an extremely powerful ancient treasure, Old Man Ma clearly had no knowledge of its proper activation method. Instead, he was simply forcing spiritual power into it to operate it by brute force. Such a crude method consumed enormous amounts of magic power and could not imprison Ku Yao for very long. Heavenweep mocked the Heavenly South cultivators for their ignorance, remarking that it was unsurprising that people from such a remote region did not know how to properly use such a rare treasure. Hearing this explanation, the shriveled spell warrior relaxed and abandoned his rescue plan. The Heavenly South cultivators experienced mixed emotions. They were initially delighted that Ku Yao had been trapped inside the formation. But seeing Old Man Ma's increasingly solemn expression and hearing the strange explosions from within the formation made them realize that the battle was far from over. Old Man Ma inwardly cursed without end. This treasure had only recently come into his possession, and previously he had only used it against core formation cultivators, all of whom had been effortlessly killed. Ku Yao, however, was an entirely different opponent. Together with the continuous assaults of the fire flood dragon, he repeatedly disrupted the formation from within, forcing Old Man Ma to constantly stabilize it. Maintaining the formation under such conditions rapidly exhausted the treasure's spiritual power as well as his own magic power. For a while, the battlefield became eerily quiet. Apart from the muffled explosions constantly emerging from within the 8 trigram diagram, complete silence filled the air. The Heavenly South cultivators became increasingly worried, while Han Li alone remained calm as he carefully observed everything. At that moment, Silvermoon spoke from within Han Li's mind, clicking her tongue in disappointment. She remarked that Old Man Ma was severely overworking the Supreme 8 trigram diagram, an ancient treasure whose reputation in ancient times rivaled the Purple Cloudless. Curious, Han Li asked whether she truly knew this treasure. Silvermoon confirmed that it had once been famous but pointed out that Old Man Ma's version was only a low-quality diagram. Had it been a superior version, Ku Yao would already have died despite the old man's improper usage, and the treasure would have required far less magic power to operate. Han Li then wondered whether the Purple Cloudless also possessed some hidden activation method. Silvermoon replied that it was much simpler, requiring only spiritual power and repeated practice to master its Jade Sun True Fire. Just as Han Li frowned and sensed something was wrong, a tremendous explosion suddenly shook the sky. The 8-trigram diagram violently distorted as countless beams of red light burst through the formation, tearing it apart from the inside. More explosions followed before a blazing fireball shot 30 meters into the air and dispersed, revealing Ku Yao standing atop the fire flood dragon. His complexion had turned blood red, while the once gigantic dragon had already shrunk back to only 3 meters in length and appeared greatly weakened. Old Man Ma was in no better condition. His face had become deathly pale and his eyes lacked spirit after exhausting so much magic power. Even so, he gritted his teeth, waved his hand toward the shattered 8-trigram diagram, and recalled it. The damaged formation transformed back into a scroll wrapped in rainbow light before flying back into his hand. Old Man Ma's formation scroll was left in tatters after Ku Yao escaped, making it completely useless. The black-robed spell warrior sighed with regret, saying that if Ku Yao had not rushed to break free by sacrificing his fire spirit's vitality to buy time, Old Man Ma would have eventually exhausted his magic power and dismissed the formation on his own. The shriveled spell warrior thought it over and agreed, furious over the loss of his precious treasure. Old Man Ma stored the ruined scroll in his storage pouch and glared fiercely at Ku Yao, who merely snorted and once again urged his flood dragon forward amid blazing flames. Before the battle could continue, the shriveled spell warrior suddenly called for Ku Yao to stop and proposed ending the duel in a draw since both combatants had nearly exhausted their magic power and continuing would accomplish nothing. The bald leader exchanged glances with Jiyu Shuangpu before agreeing. Although Old Man Ma was unwilling to accept the result, he knew he could no longer continue fighting and reluctantly withdrew. Ku Yao also felt dissatisfied but recalled his flood dragon and returned to the spell warrior ranks. After Old Man Ma returned, the bald leader comforted him with a few words, gradually easing his anger over the destroyed formation scroll. Meanwhile, the black-robed spell warrior quietly discussed something with the shriveled cultivator before slowly floating into the battlefield himself. Sweeping a contemptuous gaze across the heavenly south cultivators, he arrogantly declared that whoever challenged him would fight until one side died and that no one should expect the battle to be interrupted or declared a draw. His words enraged both Jiyu Shuangpu and the bald leader, but neither dared to step forward because they knew this mysterious spell warrior had already killed 2 nascent soul cultivators. At that moment, Han Li calmly volunteered to face him. The bald man was initially surprised but quickly felt relieved, reminding Han Li to be careful and promising that they would intervene if things became dangerous. Han Li merely smiled before surrounding himself with azure light and flying into the sky, stopping directly in front of the black-robed figure with his hands clasped behind his back. The black-robed spell warrior carefully examined Han Li as his eyes slowly changed from black to eerie green. Han Li calmly asked whether he was a demon or a ghost. The man laughed coldly as thick black qi wrapped around his body, accompanied by ghostly wails and chilling yin winds. After observing him, Han Li concluded that he had originally been human but had cultivated a demonic or ghost-like cultivation path. The black-robed figure mocked Han Li for talking too much, saying there was no point investigating him because Han Li would soon die. Dense black qi then erupted around his body as he rapidly transformed into a terrifying giant nearly 6 meters tall. Although most of his body remained hidden within the swirling yin qi, 2 sharp horns and long fangs could be seen beneath his robes, making him resemble a true devil and explaining why many cultivators believed he was some transformed monster rather than a human spell warrior. Activating his bright sight spirit eyes, Han Li pierced through the black qi and clearly saw the giant's appearance. He was shocked because the creature looked exactly like the phantom of the 6 apex devils he had encountered while battling a disciple of Arcsaint 6 Paths. Han Li immediately questioned the giant about his relationship with Arcsaint 6 Paths. The giant briefly showed surprise before grinning wickedly and claiming he had never heard that name, accusing Han Li of trying to delay the battle. Without another word, he launched a hidden attack by throwing an object concealed within the black qi. The moment it left the darkness, it vanished from sight. Han Li instantly sensed the danger and retreated 10 meters. Almost simultaneously, a gigantic ghost claw appeared exactly where he had been standing, striking so suddenly that it seemed to materialize from thin air. The giant was surprised that Han Li had avoided the attack so easily. Han Li calmly remarked that although the giant cultivated devil Dao techniques rather than ghost Dao arts, his attack methods were almost identical to those of ghost cultivators, making it easy for anyone to mistake him for one and fall into his trap. Remaining silent, the giant secretly launched another invisible ghost claw, but Han Li once again moved away before it struck. After missing twice, the giant could no longer remain calm and asked whether Han Li had encountered ghost cultivators before. Han Li answered with a half-truth, saying he naturally had, otherwise he could not have dodged those attacks so easily. The giant snorted, saying that even if Han Li understood his techniques, it would make no difference because the Heaven Flash Devil arts would kill him within moments. He immediately released an ear-piercing whistle powerful enough to split stone. The black qi surrounding him began spinning violently before an overwhelming wave of devilish qi erupted. The giant instantly burst from the black mist with incredible speed, leaving numerous afterimages as he closed the distance in the blink of an eye. Swinging both arms, he unleashed a dense storm of black-green claw attacks from every direction, intending to tear Han Li into countless pieces. Faced with the deadly assault, Han Li remained completely calm. He pressed his palms together before spreading them apart, instantly summoning a net of golden lightning around his body. Thunder roared as the dazzling lightning formed a protective barrier. Believing that the Heaven Flash Devil arts were far superior to ordinary Devil Dao techniques and would not be restrained by mere lightning, the giant ordered the countless claws to strike without hesitation. Although Han Li's knowledge of his cultivation made him uneasy enough to want to eliminate him immediately. However, the instant the claw phantoms touched the golden lightning, they burned with intense heat and unbearable pain. Brilliant golden light erupted as the lightning effortlessly shattered the claw attacks and rapidly expanded toward the giant himself. Trapped by the advancing golden lightning net, the giant suddenly remembered a warning his master had repeatedly given him while teaching the Heaven Flash Devil arts. That golden lightning was the greatest nemesis of this cultivation technique. Because he had never encountered such an opponent before, he had completely forgotten that weakness. Horrified, he realized the golden lightning before him closely resembled the legendary power his master had described. Desperate to survive, he immediately shrank from a towering 6-meter giant into a dwarf barely 1 meter tall, buying himself a brief moment before the lightning reached him. Taking advantage of that instant, his tiny body violently fluctuated before exploding into countless thin threads of black light that scattered in every direction. Desperately attempting to escape the encroaching golden lightning net, Han Li's eyes flashed with cold killing intent as he unleashed the divine Devilbane lightning into the golden net imprisoning the black-robed cultivator. The lightning instantly caused the net to tighten while countless golden arcs collided with every strand of black demonic qi. The black threads were rapidly burned to ashes, each accompanied by a miserable scream. The remaining demonic qi quickly gathered together and condensed into the black-robed cultivator's glossy black demon nascent soul. Terrified, it frantically spat out dense clouds of pitch-black yin qi, wrapping itself in layer after layer of protection to keep the divine Devilbane lightning from reaching its body. Han Li remained expressionless, showing only a faint sneer before releasing an even brighter and more powerful bolt of divine Devilbane lightning. The golden lightning completely engulfed the demon nascent soul. After one final agonizing scream, the thunder gradually faded, and the black-robed cultivator, including his nascent soul, was completely annihilated without leaving any chance of escape. Relieved, Han Li withdrew the remaining lightning, collected the pitch-black storage pouch left behind by his opponent, calmly glanced at the stunned spell warriors, and then flew back toward the Heavenly South cultivators. The entire battle had ended after only a few brief exchanges, with Han Li killing a powerful high-grade spell warrior at unbelievable speed. Both the Heavenly South cultivators and the Mullen spell warriors were left utterly stunned by the shocking outcome. Although the Heavenly South cultivators knew little about the mysterious black-robed cultivators, they understood that these experts had arrived from another great continent, formed an alliance with the Mullen's 3 divine sages, and possessed abilities far superior to ordinary cultivators of the same cultivation realm. Even before the war officially began, they had already slain 2 Heavenly South nascent soul cultivators, greatly increasing the Mullen sage's confidence. The black-robed figure had personally joined this battle because he believed there were too many nascent soul cultivators defending the Grand Formation and wanted to eliminate one of them first to weaken its defenses. Instead, He was effortlessly killed by the seemingly ordinary Han Li, with not even his nascent soul escaping, leaving the two high-grade spell warriors in complete disbelief. After finally recovering from the shock, the shriveled spell warrior and Ku Yao exchanged frightened glances and hesitated, uncertain whether they should continue attacking or stabilize the morale of the shaken spell warrior army. At that moment, both suddenly heard a calm but commanding voice in their ears ordering an immediate retreat. The mysterious speaker explained that their momentum had already collapsed and that they would reconsider their strategy the following day. He also hinted that by then the grand formation might already be compromised and added that although Heavenweep's death was unfortunate, he would personally explain the matter to the divine sages. The two spell warriors immediately obeyed the order and commanded the Mullen army to withdraw. Despite some confusion among the troops, the army slowly retreated in an orderly fashion while the two sages remained at the rear, glaring coldly at the heavenly south cultivators, especially Han Li. Before finally departing, watching the enemy retreat, Jiyu Shuangpu asked whether they should pursue them. However, the bald cultivator firmly refused, explaining that although the Mullen army had withdrawn, it had not truly been defeated and could easily lure them into an ambush if they recklessly gave chase. Moreover, their priority was protecting the grand formation. He confidently stated that the Yellow Dragon Mountain's Thousand Soundform formation was extremely difficult to break and that the Mullen would likely need at least twice their current military strength before they could hope to capture it. Afterward, everyone's attention naturally shifted toward Han Li. He simply stood there with a faint smile while casually examining the black storage pouch he had taken from the black-robed cultivator. Before this battle, his calm smile had appeared completely ordinary. But after witnessing him effortlessly kill a nascent soul cultivator, everyone now viewed him with admiration and awe, and all traces of their previous contempt completely disappeared. The bald cultivator warmly congratulated Han Li for slaying the high-grade spell warrior and promised to report his accomplishment to the Nine Nations Alliance. Certain that Han Li would receive a substantial reward, Old Man Ma and Jiyu Shuangpu also sincerely congratulated him, their voices filled with respect. Han Li remained as calm as ever, politely exchanging a few courteous words while secretly glancing toward one particular cultivator. When he realized no one had noticed, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk appeared on his face. Once the Mullen army completely disappeared, the group returned through the entrance hidden within the mist of the Yellow Dragon Mountains. After entering the main hall, they briefly discussed the events of the day's battle before everyone returned to their residences to rest. Old Man Ma had suffered especially severe losses, not only losing his treasured magic artifact but also exhausting a great deal of his vitality, making immediate recovery necessary. Before long, only the bald cultivator remained alone inside the hall, quietly sitting and contemplating the day's events. After a short while, his expression suddenly changed as he sensed someone secretly entering. He immediately called out for the hidden person to reveal himself. A figure appeared with a flash of light, smiling as he praised the bald cultivator's keen spiritual perception before explaining that he had secretly returned because he had discovered an important secret that required immediate discussion. Without hesitation, he declared that Han Li of the Drifting Cloud sect was actually a Mullen spy. The bald cultivator burst into laughter, finding the accusation utterly ridiculous. He pointed out that Han Li had just personally killed a nascent soul spell warrior, making such a claim impossible to believe. The visitor calmly insisted that he possessed undeniable evidence and produced a jade slip, handing it over to prove his words. However, the moment the bald cultivator accepted the jade slip, it instantly transformed into a tiny emerald green snake. Before he could react, the snake bit his wrist with incredible speed. The terrifying poison spread instantly through his body, preventing even his nascent soul from escaping. Unable to utter a single scream, the bald cultivator collapsed lifelessly to the floor as his complexion turned black-violet. The assassin smiled with satisfaction and praised the deadly power of the twin-tailed jade serpent, remarking that its venom was nearly equal to the legendary 10 supreme poisons. He even commented that if the serpent were capable of flight, it would become an almost perfect weapon for assassinating powerful cultivators. The small serpent withdrew its fangs, revealing the two slender tails on its back before leaping back into its master's hand, where it coiled itself and hissed with its purple-black tongue while its eerie green eyes glowed ominously. The assassin then casually picked up the bald cultivator's storage pouch and eagerly searched through it with his spiritual sense, clearly looking for a particular object hidden among its contents.